Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shawaly Show. Today, we are honored to introduce our distinguished guest, Dr. Nihel Chabrak. Dr. Chabrak is a renowned expert in innovation, entrepreneurship, and sustainable development. She holds a PhD from Paris and is based in Dubai. Dr. Chabrak has a remarkable track record in fostering innovation within higher education, government, and corporations. She co-founded Air Impact, a company dedicated to providing high-quality carbon credits to offset emissions, demonstrating her commitment to sustainability. With numerous publications in top-tier international journals, and significant roles on editorial boards, Dr. Chabrak is a leading voice in her field. She has been a key figure at many high-profile events, such as COP28, discussing vital topics like carbon markets and sustainable energy transitions. Education to youth empowerment and innovative education programs further highlights her impactful career. Welcome, Dr. Nihel Chabrak. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be on my podcast. I'm very honored. I'm very happy to discuss with you several topics related to sustainable development, the Middle East, the future of the Middle East, and the future of entrepreneurship, youth, and innovation. I would like to start by asking you to introduce yourself to our audience, to those who don't know you. Who are you? Who is Dr. Chabrak, Nihel Chabrak?
Well, actually, I think you said a lot already about me. What I can add first, actually, I myself as a citizen of the world. So I was born in Tunisia. I studied there, and then I moved to France, where I did my PhD. I'm also French citizen. I spent some time in Europe, but I traveled a lot as I had the opportunity actually to work in several all over the world. And then I moved to the Gulf, to the UAE. And since then I'm here. Actually, I feel like I'm a citizen of the world. I'm extremely committed to my passion. I'm a person who driven by passion somehow. You can say that. And of course, actually, I do what my purpose is, because I think actually this is very important. So that's why actually, as you mentioned, I've been, working on different areas in academia for more than 25 years. I tried to educate the next generations. I try to be a researcher to, unpack and, complex concepts and help, understand them so that actually we can find the right solutions for the problems that we have. I try to work with entrepreneurs, with innovators. I try to build ecosystems to, support innovation and out with actually traditional or social entrepreneurship. I tried also to as anyone else fix the problem of climate, and so I've been interested in all these topics related to sustainable development, to the climate change, so I have different hats, I have different experiences, and I think actually at some point all this will come together, will culminate so that actually I can have even more impactful legacy.
That's interesting. And so you came to the Emirates. When did you come? Was it a long time ago, or that you've been living there?
Well, actually, I'm in the UAE since 2011. So it's
a long time. Do you see any difference between back then and now? What would be?
Of
How
course.
does it look like?
I mean, this country is like evolving at, a speed that no one can follow. It's every day it's renewing itself, and I think that a lot is happening in this area, and it's good learning for everyone, from the east to the west, from the south to the north. I think it's an interesting country and place to be.
Yeah. Do you think, well, what's your main focus right now? What are you the topic you are currently working on? So you mentioned sustainable, you mentioned the environment. Is there anything else you're working on? And I would like you also to compare to tell me if there's a difference between Dubai, Emirates, and Europe, since you're both you live there, but you've lived in Europe, you're a citizen as well, and in France. I would like to take your to get wise observation about on this.
Well, actually, as I said, I have been working on several topics: youth empowerment, education, youth empowerment, innovation, entrepreneurship, sustainable development, recently carbon markets. So these are like the main areas of my focus. When I talk about education, it's more about the future of learning, and with also a connection with sustainable development. So how to reform education for sustainable development. Okay, so that's one major, innovation, entrepreneurship. It's I've been working mainly, as an enabler, so offering everything innovators and entrepreneurs need actually to be able to and of course actually being a researcher. So I was able, for example, to support the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, to work with policymakers here in the UAE, and to create with all the partners the ecosystem that in which these entrepreneurs will thrive. So these are like somehow the now I'm talking about the UAE and Europe. One of the reasons why I came here, I think, is because I felt that at some point Europe started stagnating, and there was no possibility to to innovate or even to come up with new initiatives, considering the major and the challenges and the complexity of the problems we are facing today. So when I came to the UAE first as a visiting professor, I just noticed how dynamic is this country. And I was given also the means and the possibility to, to try and fail, and I was told, and this is something which I never heard back in Europe, the limit is the sky. The sky is the limit, sorry. So that is the mindset here. That explains why actually I decided to stay, because I am an innovator in my DNA, okay? And I want actually to try new avenues. I want to to be able to grow every day. And of course, Europe with let's say the that have been done seem to be content with what they have done. However, we know that the day you stop is the day you start going backward.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. Do you think it's a problem of culture, or is it more related to government policies, or both? I feel like Dubai or the Emirates is run as a startup, in the sense that we have the startup mentality. We are allowed to fail. We're gonna make sure that everyone in the company, aka country, is allowed to be creative and to think outside of the box. Do you think that is because of their own culture? Is it cultural, or is it more? It has to do with maybe how the sphere is structured in both parts of the world, the UAE as opposed to Europe.
Look, I mean, there are different reasons, but I will try to give you some of what I consider the most important ones. So if I ask you, like, taking an adult and a child, who is more creative?
Children, definitely.
Okay. So, and the reason why is that generally children have achieved less. And so actually they have nothing to lose somehow. Okay. Most of adults actually, they are victims of their own success and their own achievements. So we don't want actually somehow to lose what we have achieved. And this is going to be a hurdle, for us. It's exactly the same. The UAE is a new country, okay, compared to Europe, other countries. It's a new country. Somehow, actually, they have nothing to lose. Okay, so that's why actually they take more risk. They are more dynamic. They are more free in deciding about the direction they want to take, and they have also the privilege that they have observed the history and they have learned what happened in other countries. So actually they can, read, learn, and then adapt and adjust what they are doing for themselves. So that's one important factor. The other thing I believe is related to the culture, to this mindset that exists here, which is growth mindset. I mean, people are here all the time looking for the best, and they never stop. They never stop because, oh, the situation is good. Yes, the situation is good, but it could be better and better and better. So that continuous improvement, which is nourished by a feedback loop. They are extremely attentive to what people, for example, who are living here think about what they are, what they have. And they are extremely, they put somehow the processes in place so that they can, engage in this, continuous improvement all the time. I didn't see that when I was in Europe.
Yeah.
There is a disconnect somehow between the population, okay, and the policymakers. Even though we talk about democracy and representation, etc., I'm not sure how much ideas are really represented, and taken forward through these, processes.
Exactly. And I think it can be dangerous to be stuck in your ways and think that you know more than anybody else. It's very important to take an honest look at oneself and reassess, as you said. Are we still the best? Do we still hold the highest moral ground as opposed to the rest of the world? Are we practicing what we're preaching? Those are very important questions that should always be asked. That's very interesting. Now, I'd like to circle back to climate change. So now we're going to get a bit more technical. Can you please share with us why the Emirates care about? I feel like whenever I'm online, I see a lot of initiatives, a lot of talks about climate change coming out of why is it so important for them? What are the cutting edge initiatives that are currently being implemented on the ground? And what are you working on? Or what are the talks that you're currently holding with the entrepreneurs down there?
Well, I think actually the interest of the UAE, for example, I'm talking about the UAE because I'm here, but also I think it's the same for many other Arab people in the region. I think actually it's related to to culture, our religion, our tradition, etc. So I mean, I like the way how I was raised when I was kid, like don't waste this, reuse this, etc. So actually from it's really in our culture, in our deep habits, that we care about the environment, we care about what is surrounding us. In the case of the UAE, I think also the founding father of the country, Sheikh Zayed, made it and left a lot actually of examples on why actually we should care about, about nature, about, I remember I have read like quotes where he was talking about even the birds, the smallest like animals that they need, they deserve, being taken care of, etc. So I think actually this legacy explains somehow why people care about the environment. The second aspect is that the UAE sees always opportunity in these major crises somehow.
As a leader, you mean?
The leaders, I think actually the leadership in this country is extremely aware and able to transform what could be a challenge into an opportunity. And this is also a mindset. So that's why actually, if I just give an example, after I have spent like a few years in the UAE, I went back in a country in Europe, and then I was in an event, and I was shocked actually by the negativity when people talk about something. I mean, while actually I was talking about the same topic in the UAE, but I didn't feel like that negative mood, which is somehow, pulling you down, So we can still talk about challenges, but there is a way to give you the possibility to transform that challenge into an opportunity.
So you see the opportunities in the challenge. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's actually here. So for example, I still remember when His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, the current president of the UAE, when he was talking about oil, okay? And he said, in 50 years from now, when we are going to load the last barrel of oil, okay, considering what we are doing now and the investments that we are doing now, we will celebrate that moment.
And instead of panicking.
So we'll celebrate the last barrel of oil, because that last barrel of oil had made them think about a new direction and make a new investment in order to be able to celebrate in 50 years.
Amazing.
Okay, you see, so actually there is a high level of awareness, but at the same time, it's an awareness that gives you power and a sense of agency, so that actually anything that could be perceived as a challenge becomes an opportunity. And of course, that's how actually they started investing, in education, in talent, attracting talents to the UAE, investing in renewables, investing in, anything that could, make them lead in something else other than oil. Okay, diversify the economy. Like, I mean, when we look at how much they depend on oil, it's less and less every year. Okay, so what I feel is that many people need to, before like just making any judgment, need to see what, for example, the UAE has invested in renewable energy, for example, and what they have made as investing to abate emissions, etc., etc. Many people don't know about this.
No, not in the West.
And this stereotype, image is still out there, but I think actually, I mean, it's not informed by the right knowledge, let's say.
And I also, part of our work is we work with entrepreneurs, small and medium-sized companies to expand internationally. And I always tell people working in this space of clean energy recycling that, contrary to the image that we see on TV in many countries in Europe, you could launch a very successful company down there, and you will be supported by the system, the administration. Things will be easy. I'd like us, for those who are thinking about maybe giving it a try, to start a company down there. in the Emirates. I already have many friends who have done it, and I feel like this is the new American dream. This is not American, this is the Gulf, the Arab dream, to be honest. Can you tell us if they're too late to do that? Is it the right time? What to expect when we go there?
So let me,
especially coming from Europe, since you know.
yeah, of course. So actually, the first time I started working with the ecosystem, it was back in 2016. So I was leader of the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor for the UAE. And starting from 2017, we had a partnership with the Ministry of Economy, and we were working on the entrepreneurship goal in the national agenda. So Prime Minister office, so the objective was actually to among the leading countries in terms of quality of ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem. And then, so we closely with the government, with other ecosystem players. We prepared reports, we prepared recommendations, we tried to answer their questions, etc. And then I remember in 2021, first act. So no, in 2020, I think the UAE had a minister of entrepreneurship. So they appointed a minister of entrepreneurship. So we continued working with him. And in 2021, so the UAE is ranked first for the quality of its entrepreneurial ecosystem in the GEM study. GEM is the biggest observatory of entrepreneurship in the world.
First
and
globally?
It is the reference first globally. So it ranked first before any other ecosystem. And I still remember because we are doing the study every year. So since 2016 until I left in 2022, so for 6 years, I can tell you actually that the number of improvements and changes that happened, and the number of decisions, the number of programs, policies, laws, name it. It's just amazing. In a way that, myself, I just set a new company, okay? And everything was done almost overnight. Like I had my license overnight. And like one of the issues I remember at the beginning was like to open a bank account, etc. It was done in 10 days. Like everything is done in a smooth way that you can say, oh, wow. So absolutely, I think there is an improvement, and the UAE is open. So everyone who wants actually to a company, they want actually to be the startup nation, So it's a good time to come and business here.
That's very good. And I think there are tax, obviously as a startup, you pay less taxes than elsewhere in the West. What's the percentage now? It's been changed, right? Like,
well, there is, which applies as everywhere. So it's 5%. And then there is a new corporate tax, which is 9%, but it does not apply to the small. So there is a threshold, and after which you start paying this corporate tax. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So now we've been talking about entrepreneurship in the climate change sphere. And then one of the topics that you were working on is the future of education, which is very interesting. And I think AI is really changing that. Once again, Sam Altman was in Dubai, I think, lately. And of course, he's not a smart guy. He chose the UAE to partner with. Now, I would like you to tell us a bit more about how you see the future of education and how technology is going to change that. And is the Emirates going to lead this journey again and trying to be innovative and change? Maybe is the change going to come out of there? Change in education?
Yes. So change in education is a timely topic everywhere. in the world, and mainly actually when we talk about, for example, education for sustainable development or in the era of sustainable development, this is really very important. And I think actually the traditional model and then the digital model, like both are limited because somehow they are still disconnected from real problems. So it's not only about using technology, but also it's about connecting education and connecting people through education to what is happening out there, which is not always the case when we look at the traditional model. The UAE is, of course, actually they are promoting the future of learning. They are trying actually to attract many of these, interesting experiences that happened elsewhere. Like, for example, Minerva project. They are working here in the UAE. École 42 is working here in the UAE, and so many other, innovative and creative concepts are emerging here. Talking about AI, just to add that the UAE has also a minister for AI.
Really?
And so yes, so they have a ministry for AI, and they recently actually organized a big retreat about how actually AI is going to, to affect somehow our lives, in which they were talking about also what role the UAE can play and how actually it could lead into that. One of the machine learning models was also developed in the UAE. Like everyone talks about
Yes.
ChatGPT, etc. But actually there is another interesting initiative that was led by TRI. So it's a research institute in Abu Dhabi. And I can't remember exactly the name, but it's one of the best machine learning models that was so far. So yeah, and at the same time, as I told you, like bringing more connection between the learner and what is around, which means actually all the challenges that we have, so that actually the learning becomes more proactive. Because actually the youth, I think actually what happened with young people is that level of disenchantment and that level of and which affected the motivation actually for learning. And so in order to reconnect them, because these young people are really looking for a purpose, for meaningful life, authenticity, contributing to the planet, etc. So it's very important to bring this dimension to the learning experiences that we are offering them, and to help and enable that dimension as well.
Definitely, exactly. And maybe the educational system needs to reflect what's going on in their current life.
Exactly.
It needs to be up to date. And in this time we're living in, it's things are, the information is moving so fast. And as you mentioned before, things are changing so quickly that for a kid going to school, to not to see what's happening around them in real life is very disappointing and boring as well. So they get disconnected from this, and then looking forward to watching maybe videos on TikTok, or not that I'm supporting it, but you know what I mean. But
also talking about the new, because actually these generations were born in the of the climate crisis. So they somehow see humanity being responsible for that, but they don't want actually, they will be part of the solution. So you need to give them the opportunity and the capacity to restore, of course, actually restore hope and change, like have effect change and be part of the solution. So that's also very important. Not only being a recipient of knowledge, but being able through learning to contribute fixing problems, whether actually related to climate or any other social problems, but actually being able and feeling themselves like agents of change.
Definitely,
Yeah.
exactly. Instead of making them panic and giving them the information, negative information about how, oh my God, how the world is ending. Instead, let's do, like you mentioned before, let's have that startup mentality and say, hey guys, we're having a challenge, but actually there are many, that's a great opportunity to become creative, to be innovative, to put in place, maybe start a business that solves this. So now, actually, by talking to you, I'm realizing that there's a common thread between these three topics. You have entrepreneurship, education, and sustainable development / climate change. They all tie to each other, right?
Absolutely.
What do you think we should put in place now? Maybe in Europe, because I feel like the systems it's moving so slowly that we are lagging behind, as compared as opposed to other countries, maybe in the Gulf states. What are the immediate things or strategies that we need to put in place to make change to the better, to improve things? So the school system, we need to teach teachers maybe about technology.
I on this idea concept of the curriculum of the future, which we piloted through a program which is called the Pathfinders program. It was in 2021, and it was exactly first act. It was designed to address this profound disconnect the students feeling towards like their educational experiences, and also trying like to fulfill their quest for purpose, authenticity, meaningful engagement in the era of sustainable development, and send them the tools to become entrepreneurs and to be proactive, etc. So actually, all these building blocks were together, discovering the purpose, and so somehow engaging the student in an introspective perspective in order to understand the meaning of life for them, and then the possibility to understand the challenges, challenges, and why the existing solutions are not able to to problems, and then how can I come up with a solution, and how can I implement it, execute? And so how do I learn and come up with a solution to fix? So it's an alignment also between personal and professional, aspirations, and roadmap towards that, where actually I can have a fulfilling experience. So actually there are different elements, key elements that need to be considered in any reform of education. First, we need to move to interdisciplinary learning, which is not the case now. And every standard or like certification or quality standard that exists out there is not enabling or allowing this interdisciplinarity in our learning. So this is the first thing that we need to work on, because students need to be exposed to a wide range of topics, from environmental science to economics to politics to behavioral science, so that they understand actually how all these is affecting for example the climate crisis. And then actually experiential learning is very important. So it's not about classroom. I mean, students don't need actually to be sitting in a classroom, and knowledge is abundant. They can learn from home. However, what they need is, internships, fieldworks, community projects. Exactly. So all these experiences are important to supply, a dimension that they cannot get, which is the theoretical knowledge, like the theoretical knowledge they can get through even YouTube. Okay. But all these experiential learning opportunities are missing. Then they need skills. They need actually to have, the possibility to think critically, to solve problems. So the skills is very important. It's no longer about knowledge. It's about attitudes. It's about mindset. It's about skills. So that they are able to also navigate and to transfer these skills from a situation to another, and so that they can learn by themselves. That's very important. And of course, the last element is the ethical reasoning and social responsibility. So they need to understand that this is a shared responsibility. They need to understand that they can also, by a small contribution, they can help fixing the problem. And the ethical considerations, because we are in an era where things can go wrong very, very easily with good intentions. So these are, I think, the most important elements that need to be there in any educational reform in our era.
Definitely. So you're saying that we need to teach our kids or our students how to learn on their own and unlearn probably bad things that they might have learned from either at school or outside. But then maybe we should use their energy to funnel. We need to funnel this energy. Maybe it could help us get feedback or even come up with solutions to real problems. Because as you mentioned before, kids are very creative, and kids, I'm talking about kids and young adults, obviously. So it's very important. Also, assessment. When we talk about assessment, it's very sad to see that most of the tests or evaluation, like what you see in France, it's still written tests instead of project-based assessments. Now in the era, I think it's more, it's not about memorizing, because now we have access to a lot of information. You can, as you very well mentioned before, you can learn anything on YouTube. Now, yes, you can learn anything, but can you put them together? When you have a real life problem, can you put them together to solve that problem or not? Right.
And that's why critical thinking is very important, because that's how you are going to learn and learn. And that's how also you are to be able to make an assessment on how to make use of what kind of information, etc., etc. So the skills in our today is crucial. Like no one evolve without having this critical thinking and problem solving, and this growth mindset. For me, there are mindsets, there are attitudes, there are skills which are extremely important. And then, of course, actually, there are different types of knowledge. There is the theoretical knowledge, but there is also the practical knowledge. And all together, make us have a new learning experience, which is more engaging, which is more, fit to in which we live today. And of course, it will help us remain all the time able to renew ourselves and be able to different situations, to grow and to being part of the solution and finding solutions to these challenges we are facing.
Exactly. So it's not about how much you know anymore. It's about what can you do with the information you have. Now information is abundant, is everywhere. But can you use it in a constructive way? And it's also funny that you were saying, we're talking about critical thinking, but I find expression very interesting. Shouldn't, right? Why we should just we say critical thinking. Maybe it should be
Thinking.
yeah, just thinking, like
Just
properly.
thinking. Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Thinking is critical in itself. Sometimes we don't apply that layer of, how to say this. It's more about, making an assessment,
Mm,
so you can think about, something, okay, but it doesn't mean that you are making an assessment of it,
mm.
or you are reevaluating it, or you are, questioning it.
Yeah, exactly.
You see what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah. But
No,
maybe
it's
actually
how you
that's
approach.
more the critical thinking. Yeah,
No,
that's
exactly.
how
And
I would say
everybody's using it, obviously. But I would just, it's very interesting what you said. You started with conversation with your question, who is more creative, a kid or an adult? And what you said, kids, I find them to be very, by nature, they are critical thinkers. They always ask questions and they question the world. So it's very important for us, even adults, to embrace that mindset. It's
Mhm.
part of our humanity, it's part of our nature to always not just accept the information that we are dealt, but also ask ourselves, who is behind this information? Why are they, diffusing it? Does it make sense? So, as you said, questioning is very important. Again, in AI, sometimes, maybe using an AI that's giving you information, don't just take it at face value. Ask yourself, but this information was took them from somewhere else. All these things, they are little things, but they are critical. Hence the critical thinking, and it's good to be critical for the future of education as well, to teach students how to absorb education information.
And exactly. And I think we are born with those capabilities. We are born with all these components and elements that make us, critical thinkers. And again, as I said, our social life and experiences that we gain throughout the years is somehow creating inhibitors
Mm,
to that capacity. So we need actually to go back to the origin
yeah,
and to, remove these layers which are preventing us from being truly critical thinkers.
exactly.
Yeah.
For European entrepreneurs, educators, or companies, do you think they're still needed in the Emirates, for example, in Dubai? Can they still contribute to the revolution, to the information and economic revolution that's going on down there?
Well, I think actually
Is it
it's
still a need?
everyone is needed. Like, it's not a matter of, you know um, yeah, I mean, I think actually we all need to be open, and we all need to, you know to uh, to let anyone who has the possibility to make a contribution, to come in and make a contribution. And I think that's the attitude here. I mean,
Mm.
there is a place for everyone,
There's still room for them.
as long as you come to make a real contribution, as long as you come here to, positive
Mm.
attitude as well, and with an intention to, make this world a better place. I think actually there is a place for everyone.
There are still
um
opportunities, you think, like business
yes.
opportunities.
And not in the UAE, it's
Saudi
all
as well.
around. Like Saudi Arabia is like booming now. All the is, I think, a place where a lot of things will happen in the next decades.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And the population is much younger than in Europe. I heard, well, in Egypt, for example, 60% of slightly a bit more than 60% of the population is under 30. I guess the UAE is similar. Saudi Arabia, but there are definitely opportunities for businesses to expand down there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, great. Thank you so much. You mentioned before recording that you were going to Italy maybe for a conference. What's, if
Yes.
you may share, what is the conference about? Are you going to be speaking there?
I'm going to learn.
Okay.
I'm going to learn. It's an event. It's a climate leaders event, training event in Rome. I will have the opportunity to attend the climate reality lab. Actually, yeah.
Is there anything else I should have asked you, but I forgot to ask? And anything else you would like to share with the world about things, the topics that you're passionate about?
I don't know. Like, no, I think we talked about a lot of things. Well, I mean, of course, the years I started working more and more on and mainly on nature-based solutions. I've been in Africa this year for almost 2 months to learn more on the ground, about these carbon projects, about how to design these projects, what is a high quality project, why actually it's important to work with communities and all aspects. So I think actually my next major contributions is going to be around the carbon markets. Yeah.
Okay, and you were in Africa. Which countries in Africa are currently working on this?
Oh, I visited
actively?
several ones.
Yeah.
I stayed like a few weeks in Tanzania, and then I was in different other countries: Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Kenya. So
Wow. So Africa as well. I mean, as Africa is a huge continent, obviously, but it's a very exciting market for companies or companies that are are addressing this topic, right? Knowledge
Africa
sharing.
is also the future.
Mm.
I think Africa is also the future, and there are a lot of resources. There is a high potential, and again, there is a young population that is looking for the opportunity to these resources into important achievements for the continent. And I was amazed. Actually, I had discussions and conversations with young African citizens who would like actually to contribute to the fixing the climate change. And of course, actually, I think many companies in the West and in the North need to invest in these projects, because it's a win-win. First, actually, it's solving the problem globally. Okay, it gives them access to these credits to off their emissions, the emissions they cannot, of course, offset by reduce by themselves, and at the same time they can do that in an efficient way, which means actually investing in these projects in the south is less costly than doing the same projects in the north. And so you can reduce and achieve emissions and achieve your net zero strategy, but at the same time you are also helping other countries achieve and adapt and achieve their targets, and at the same and having COVID, like improving biodiversity, improving the livelihood of the frontline communities who are living there. So it's a win-win-win-win, you can say.
Exactly.
And this is something also it's one of the topics I think actually I will spend some time working around. Yeah,
That's very good. Exactly. So knowledge sharing and sharing can be as well a good business opportunity for many companies. Africa has always been a rich country in natural resources, but now it's also rich in capital resources, thanks to the democratization of internet information. Now, young Africans, that's a majority of the population in Africa, and many all across the continent, are young. They are tech savvy. They have access to the information. Now they might need to collaborate with the West and the North, as you said, on initiatives that are good for the planet. So it's a win-win
exactly.
for everyone.
Yeah,
I'm very
absolutely.
glad. Exactly. I'm very glad that we are both part of BMW Foundation, Herbert Quant. It's we have great leaders, responsible leaders, and I feel like we need to, as you said, we need to look at the glass half full and see the opportunities and all the challenges that we're living. I definitely believe Africa is the
Absolutely.
future, the Arab world. Part of the Arab world is in Africa. We should not forget. And thank you so much for your contributions. Any last thoughts, or we call it?
I think actually we many interesting talks here. You made me even more and having even more new ideas. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was really a pleasure talking to you today and sharing.
Thank you for coming on, and I look for part 2 after your next visit to Africa.
Hopefully.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Take
you
care.
so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.